It's time for Good Energy In, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 200. And I thought since it was day 200 that we'd have a little bit of a celebration. 200 days of making videos on the senses and connecting into your body. Today we are talking about shortness of breath and the senses, and we're particularly talking about the sense of smell. This is day 5 of shortness of breath and the senses, and we are going to have a lot of fun today. All right, so let's start with the basics. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. On your next breath in, you're going to expand in the belly, expand in the chest, expand in the head, and tuck your tail. So deep breath in and release. And today, because we are talking about shortness of breath, we are going to breathe into various parts of our body. Yesterday we breathed into the upper apices. Today we're going to breathe down into the lower part of the back. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath into that low back. And release. One more time, breathe into that deep low back. And release. Sun decided to come out in its full force. All right, so today we're talking about the sense of smell and shortness of breath. And the interesting thing is that there are smells that make us expand and contract. Take, for example, fresh baked bread. Now, this isn't actually fresh baked. I baked it on the weekend. But it is rye bread. And there is just something about opening up a bag of bread that just, you can just take a bigger breath. Or you walk into a house where they're making bread or they're making buns or muffins, and there's just something about that ability to just take an extra space, take a breath that has extra space in it, because it feels so good. And that is because baking bread is good energy in for a number of people. And remember, we're operating from the healing equation. So energy to heal equals good energy in minus stressors. And baking bread just gives us that really yummy, good energy in. I am getting a little shown out here, so I'm going to shift this over a little bit. There we go. All right. So baking bread is wonderful. The other thing that is really, any sense that you walk into a room and your first response is, can I get more of that in, is going to be a smell that is going to change you, that's going to shift you out of shortness of breath, because just by its nature, it's calming to the nervous system and you want to take in more. We just happened to watch Frozen, and the scene where Anna and Elsa are on the dais and they're talking for the first time in many years, and one of them goes, "What is that incredible smell?" And they both go, "Chocolate." And that's kind of what you can do if you have shortness of breath. You can put smells and scents that calm your nervous system. So I have a wonderful mint plant that sits by the door. And there is just something wonderful about being able to just take a deep breath in of mint. You just want to take more and more and more. You just want to totally expand those lungs and get that in there. And that just feels so good. All right. So there are scents that, I'm trying to scrape off eggs here. There are scents that make us feel really good. And there are scents that don't. But it fascinates us that there are scents that don't make us feel good, because we frequently say, hey, this smells bad, smell this. We line up in droves to smell the corpse flower, even though the corpse flower smells like a combination of rotten eggs, socks, bad meat, all of the chemical signatures for death and dying exist in the corpse flower. Those chemical signals that should turn us away, it doesn't. We want to see what is smelling that terrible. We want to find out what it is. So even though things like the corpse flower, things like smelly socks, things like sour milk are not things that actively bring us good energy in, they're not necessarily a stressor, but they are a scent. And things with a distinctive scent, we just can't help ourselves from actually sitting there and smelling it. So the corpse flower blooms very infrequently. It's a very huge blossom, and it really is a flower that smells like rotting flesh, and it's designed to bring in insects that feed off of dying, rotting things, and that's how it is pollinated. So this is a scent that by its very nature should cause shortness of breath, but still at the same time we're intrigued by it. It's a very unusual feature about us as humans. So the other things we can pay attention to, the smell of smoke, that is one that we don't actually actively go towards, and in fact it usually does spark our fight or flight. The color of air in San Francisco and Oregon back at the beginning of September was not a smell, indicated that there was a definite smell in the air, and that definitely was not going to be good energy in. But we can use even unusual smells. Smelling salts are designed to wake us up. They're designed for us to take a huge, we get out of it and we come back to reality. So sometimes even bad smells are ones that are designed for us to take a deep breath in. So that is a peculiar feature about shortness of breath and the sense of smell, is that it doesn't always fall down into energy to heal equals good energy and minus stressors. The sense of smell can't necessarily be qualified as what is good energy in, because, as I said, certain scents should turn you off. For some people, the smell of a bonfire is uplifting, even though the very presence of the air molecules, the pollutant molecules from a fire, are things that are going to get stuck in your lungs and it's going to make breathing more difficult. We still go towards it because it's a fire. It smells good. So it's very individual in that component, or in that feature, but it's also very cool. So when you walk into a house and they are making fish, it may cause shortness of breath. But if you are a real fan of lobster and that's what's being cooked, you may expand those lungs and experience an increasing breath rather than shortness of breath. So pay attention to what happens when you walk into different houses. Pay attention to what happens when you're cooking different things. I know I've told you this before. I do not like the smell of cumin when it is put into a hot pan because it smells like dirty socks. I also don't like the smell of tarragon when it's put in when it's put in cooking food, because it smells like baby diapers. But I love it when it's actually in the food. Now, other people who like fish sauce will say the same thing. Fish sauce, when put into food, smells terrible. But once you put it in, it adds just a little bit of savoriness that is enough to change the way something tastes, and it makes it a lot better. So those are things to pay attention to. And I hope you are having a wonderful day. I'm having a little bit of a happy dance here because I've made it through 200 days of shooting, and I'm feeling really good, and I hope you're getting a lot out of it. And I'm hoping that this is going to help a lot of people connect back into their bodies, because connecting into your body, being separate from your body, is kind of how we separate ourselves from other people, how we separate ourselves from the environment, how we separate ourselves from what is really going on at the time. I was a philosophy and psychology double major, and I loved philosophy, but as much as I acknowledged Plato's allegory of the cave, it made us think that what we see and what we feel and what we sense is not reality. And therefore our thoughts are higher than reality, or what we sense. And I want to remind you that your thoughts are what you work on from your senses. Your senses are what's coming in. They can get distorted, but your senses are what connect you to the here and now. They're what connect you to the present. And I think that is incredibly important, especially moving forward. All right, let's finish it off. Take a deep breath in and release. I will see you here tomorrow for our final 2 days on shortness of breath and the senses. Take care.